Every now and then, you cross paths with someone who leaves an indelible mark on your life. I recently had the pleasure of interviewing one such individual. Now, this New Orleanian is an actor, a teacher, and by all accounts, an internet sensation. I'll just skip the introductions and get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Greg Cada. Hey, Greg, thanks for joining the Reigning Cajun podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you for having me, bud.
You know, I discovered you, I think it was totally through accident. You know how we all tend to scroll, especially, you know, the times when everybody tells you not be scrolling when you're laying in bed next to your partner and, you know, you should be having partner time. You're sitting there scrolling on your phone. You know, that's I think that I can remember that moment, and I couldn't stop laughing. As a matter of fact, I woke my spouse up because I was laughing so loud at some. I was just, you're funny as hell. And I
Thank you.
and then of course I saw in the background, I saw what was one of the trash bins for New Orleans, and then I started to connect the dots, and I'm like, I'm not sure how Facebook figured out that somehow your content would be interesting to me. I don't know if it was a New Orleans connection, or I like, you know, comedy and funny things, or because when we'll get to this, you teach drama to my cousin's kids. I'm not sure, but Facebook kind of creeps me out that way. You ever experience that sometimes when you're on Facebook and you were talking about something that day, and then you go on Facebook and there's an ad for it? You weren't searching for it, but yeah, so it's kind of freaks you out. But
no, Facebook, I mean, our phones are listening for sure.
For sure.
It's like, I mean, it's between getting ads for things that you just were talking about or seeing videos or content. I mean, it's 100%. It's
right.
It is Big Brother, but like shopping, and
right.
it's Big Brother thinking it's helping you.
Right. But no, what they're really trying to do is just open up your wallet a little bit more and monetize you.
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to know your background. I mean, where you grew up, and then you obviously you live in New Orleans, and we'll get to that. But where'd you grow up?
So I grew up on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio, a little town called, I don't know why I said town. It's a city. It's a pretty big city. I mean, for a city, it's called Mentor, Ohio.
Okay.
But if you are from there, you would say Menor.
Okay.
The T is just suggested with that awful Midwestern accent. We have that horrible Cleveland A. But I grew up there for 18 years, lived there pretty much my whole life. And then up to that point, I guess. And then I went to New York City. I went to NYU for undergraduate, collegiate. I went to the Tisch School of the Arts to be an actor. Very quickly started working, luckily, and one of my second biggest job was the Las Vegas company of Mamma Mia. So then I moved to Las Vegas. Was only planning on being there a year, and then cut to 15 years later. Had carved a nice little career for myself out there. Did several shows on the Las Vegas Strip, and started doing lots of industrial work. So I was doing lots of event work, meaning I was emceeing a lot of Fortune 500 company events that I would have to learn a crap ton about, like medical supply companies, and then like dump it. It's just like, So my brain, I'm very good at like memorizing quickly and letting it go even quicker.
Wow.
I was there for a long time, and then I just suddenly realized that I didn't want to die in the desert. And my life had just kind of gone.
Yeah.
It's really easy to live there. It's not exciting. It's not terrible. it's just easy.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like that. I didn't like the ease of it, which just sounds weird, but it felt, they say being content is like actually the worst thing ever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and it was getting to that. So I was doing a lot of teaching out there, teaching. I had my own private studio. So I was doing lots of private voice lessons, private acting lessons, but I was really doing a college prep for the last like 4 years. I was prepping students that wanted to do theater at university, and I realized I was really good at that, and I was really good with that age group of taking them to that next level, of making sure that they didn't lose their individuality, all that kind of stuff. And then I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? I really think my calling is to be teaching at the university level. Like that's what I'm really good at this of working with young adults, but also helping students find their individuality, find that thing that really makes them them. That's like undeniable and
Yeah.
indisputable. And so uh, I was like, oh, but I need to go get my master's degree in order to do that, and I was not willing to do that. I had decided that like if I was going to go to get my graduate degree, I needed to go with a bag of like, or not a bag, but with like a list of things that I needed from grad school because my
Yeah.
undergrad was amazing, and I didn't want to go undergrad graduate, boom boom, and be $400,000 in debt for no reason. I wanted to
Right.
use what NYU taught me, and I did. And so but I was like, okay, this is a means to an end. I need this piece of paper in order to teach, but also I'm really excited to go back and learn, um, and use all these skills now in an education. It's almost like I got like thinking of it like a redo.
Hmm.
But I didn't want to go to a place that was going to cost me an insane amount of money. And so I found a few schools that had an MFA in musical theater. Tulane University was one of those schools. And I had been coming to New Orleans as a tourist like once a year, since the year 2000. I fell in love with the city. And so this sort of it very quickly transpired. It went from a very quick idea. I was coaching another student to get into college, and she had actually found the program, but she couldn't audition because she didn't have a BFA in theater, which was one of the requirements. And I was like, well, I do. And so I applied. I told her about it, and she was like, great. And then within like 5 months, got in and was moving to New Orleans. And so I came here for my graduate degree, um, which was thankfully only 2 years, and fell in love with the city and was like, I don't think I want to leave. So that is how I got here.
I guess the question I have is now, having lived outside of or Cleveland, basically lived in the Midwest. I know going from there to New York and then to Vegas and then in New Orleans, they are all very distinct in terms of what they have to offer, in terms of the experience. Everything is different between all these different cities, especially if you look at New York and the food culture there. The theater culture obviously is a huge in New York, right? And then what the productions that go on in Vegas, that is an entire industry. I mean, that is massive, right? And then little old New Orleans, right? And so between all of these cities, I mean, you said it kind of stuck with you. You didn't want to leave, but what were the things that you liked about the cities that you were in prior to New Orleans, and what are the things that you potentially found a solution for being in New Orleans now versus the other cities? Because I guess you could have just as easily gone back to New York, right, to finish out if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. And we'll just come out and say it, the things you hate. Look, I have no problem saying about, because the bottom line is these are opinions. I'm not going to, anything I say about a city is going to be based on my experience, which is
Correct.
you can't invalidate someone's experience, right?
Sure. Sure.
Your experience may not be that. And so like I will say like whatever I say isn't like I don't trust anybody that speaks in absolutes. I tell that to my students all the time too, because
Hmm.
you're always going to find somebody that's you're going to find an exception. So like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, so Ohio, I say this about Ohio all the time. Everybody knows somebody from Ohio, and you usually have a good opinion of that person because Ohio, I think, breeds some of the best people in the world. The ones who leave, the ones who stay, they're not bad people. They are, but there is there's a danger that happens, I think, when you are born and raised in Ohio and then stay there,
Hmm.
is that you inevitably like you very clearly and visually and everything become, it's just rinse and repeat of your parents,
Right. Right.
Um, but Ohio it's fantastic. I mean, I don't know if it still is the motto, but it used to be the heart of it all. And it really is. You have the four seasons. You really get all of them. I mean, you get a gorgeous summer. I mean, I remember summer where it was 104 degrees one year. But you get like the best of summer. You get a beautiful fall with the beautiful foliage, and then
Hmm.
you get destroyed in winter. And so I really don't have any. It just didn't offer enough for me. That's I
Hmm.
think why I left. And my mom jokes that on my first day when she moved me into the dorms at NYU, that we said goodbye, and then I walked down Third Avenue because I was living on Third Avenue, and like she kept looking back to wave, and she goes, "You were just gone," and she said, "I knew I lost you forever to New York because you didn't look." I called home once that whole first year,
Wow.
and she brings it up, but she says, "You were just living your." She goes, "You loved you," and it was so true. I
Yeah.
knew NYU was the first school I auditioned for and the last one I found out about. So I auditioned for them in November and I didn't find out until April 1st, literally like the day that I
Damn.
got in. And it was also like the most expensive school out of all of them. I had full rides to about five different colleges, one which was a top 10 theater program at the time. It, and I was very lucky growing up in Ohio. I was able to go to most of these schools to
Right.
visit them because they were like less than an 8 hour drive. So we would just drive and, go and look. And I just knew when I set foot on that campus that was where I was supposed to be.
Hmm. Hmm.
New York, it's the greatest city in the world,
Hmm.
without a doubt. I don't know how the hell I ever lived there. I go back now and I don't understand. I mean, I remember days, after graduation when I was like, oh, I have to get a job. And working just dumb retail jobs to while I was auditioning for Broadway shows. Like I
Yeah.
remember there were weeks when I had $11 in my checking account, and somehow I made that work. I had my monthly Metro card, which got me on the subway and all that. I wasn't
Right.
taking cabs. That was a luxury.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I wasn't eating out, so there was a Key Foods, that's what it was called, the grocery store on the corner. Um, but I also lived in Alphabet City when it was still Alphabet City, like a
Right.
la Rent. So I was living among bohemian artists, and was still enchanted by the idea that New York was a city that could cultivate all of this culture and art. I go back now and I'm like, wow, Alphabet City now is multi-million dollar condos that have been
Mm.
developed. And I go, who the hell lives here?
Right.
How? And I
Where's
know that
that?
there are still theater people that go to move there because that's where the hub is. But
Right.
it's not surprising that other cities are really developing their theater environments, because New York is just I don't understand. I mean, the stress alone. I like whip out my credit card every 5 seconds when I'm there now as a visitor, and I'm like, I think I just spent $1,000 today. What on what? On what? It's not like I'm like, you know, got the black Amex, and I'm like, whatever,
Right.
like, no,
Exactly.
it's literally like, these were necessities. I was like, I took just the Uber from the airport
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
over $100. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so stupid. Like, y'all are just being expensive to be expensive.
Right.
And so I think cost of living now is so outrageous that I don't think I could live there. I mean, unless I was so wealthy that I like wiped my ass with money, like then I would, then I guess maybe I would be like, yeah, because yeah, it's still, New York still has that energy for sure that I miss, the
Right.
pulse, you can't live in a city the size of a quarter with 11 million people and not feel alive.
Right.
So
Sure.
for sure, that was, what I loved about New York.
Hmm.
Vegas, again, I gotta say, it was easy living.
Hmm.
And, now it's still, I mean, and I moved there when it was the fastest growing city in America for like 12 years running.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Big Short, but Vegas is the reason. And it was the number one
Yeah.
housing market that was affected.
Yep.
Vegas and Phoenix, very similar because, well, predatory lending for sure. I mean, I
Sure.
moved there and I was only going to live there a year. And all of my castmates, I would say like six of them, of the 30 of them, were real estate agents because they were doing it on the side, making bank.
Right.
And they all tried to get me to buy a house. And I was like, I just graduated drama school. I've got $80,000 in student debt. Like, I can't afford a house. And they're like, oh, you totally can. And I got approved for a $685,000 loan. So if that explains anything as to why the market
Why
was
the
destroyed
market
in
crashed?
2000, it's because 23-year-old theater kids with no credit history
Right.
were approved for. So yeah,
Yeah.
if that explains it. But that being said, it was very inexpensive to live. You have gorgeous weather 24/7.
Hmm.
And when I say it's not just the hot, you know, it's the brightness of the sky that I
Yeah.
miss.
Yeah.
It's piercing blue. The
Yes.
sun it's gorgeous. You have desert sunsets. The desert nights are what I miss the most when it's especially in the fall, like when it's 85, 90 throughout the day, but then you go and it just gets to like 50 and you have
Hmm.
to have a sweatshirt and it's
Yep.
like you're around someone's bonfire in their backyard and you're just like, oh wow,
Yeah.
and everywhere outside of the strip is like a mall. So it's
Yeah.
got every suburban, you have every like major chain, major store, everything is in Las Vegas. I mean,
Mm.
everything is there because, again, the minute you get off the strip, you're just in anywhere USA,
Right.
which is what I also found to be the problem about it is that it is such a transplant city that there is no sense of community in Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah.
It's just where you live. You don't know your neighbors
Right.
because it's so transient that it's either someone is bought it as a rental property and they're renting it out, or if you do know your neighbors, it's because you live in a gated community and you all have children. So you
Right.
do like neighborhood things that allow that. But if you're not that, it's just a very, I'll say this. I did a show with a friend. I did Mamma Mia with somebody. And then 4 years later, they came back to Vegas to do Spam-A-Lot at the Wynn. And they did it for a year and a half. And even just on like shows on the strip, because you go home to whatever area of town and, Vegas is expansive. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I saw that person twice in a year and a half just because,
Wow.
you just don't, you get done with your show, you want to get the hell away from the strip. It's very
Yeah.
different than New Orleans because locals still go down to Bourbon Street.
Exactly.
There's
Yeah.
stuff there to do. If you don't have to be anywhere near the Las Vegas Strip, locals do not go near it unless you're going to a restaurant, going to a show, or
Sure,
you
yeah.
are a gambling degenerate and you love a slot machine. So there are yeah, Vegas just was so void of local flavor and community
Hmm.
that was, and that's why I didn't want to die there, because I was like, nobody talks, nobody knows each other, nobody
Yeah.
really is like, and so I always felt like I had a foot out the door. And I
Yeah.
was like, I can't live somewhere where I feel like I have a foot out the door, because I'm
Right.
about to have 2 feet, 6 feet under if I don't, if I just let it be like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, so like New Orleans is the step cousin of Vegas in
Mm.
that. New Orleans is all culture, it's all community. Um, but it has everything to learn from Las Vegas in the sense of infrastructure, in the
What
sense of
infrastructure? The
exactly,
sewage
how
and water
to
board. We're talking about you.
infrastructure, politician,
Hmm.
police force, just uh, having bigger businesses here. I love that New Orleans is a small business town, but
Yeah.
that's not going to build an economy.
No.
We all can't have a store. We all can't have a shop. We all
Right.
can't have a restaurant. And so and especially because those price points aren't cheap. I have lots of friends that own their own businesses, but trust me, they're not charging $1.95 for anything.
Right.
So where is that? Where are those businesses that are between fast food and and
Fine
gourmet
dining.
restaurant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Where are those? And it's like, oh, well, you got to go to Metairie. You got to go into the West Bank for those. And it's like, yeah, you do, or you don't. And you just let some places come in. But I mean, I know it's probably more complicated than that. But my point being is that what I will generally say, because I think this could take us into another topic, because I could talk all day about this, is
We can
New
always have a
Orleans will
second
live in.
interview, so don't worry about
There you
it.
go. Exactly. We're doing a part two, people. The New Orleans will live and die by the phrase, "This is how we've always done it,"
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
will be. It's its greatest strength, but it's its greatest weakness. And I think it's really showing how weak of an ideology that really is currently.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, no,
But
I
like a
mean, I would
bad Jerry
say,
Springer guest, I still love it.
yeah. Well, you are not the father. Um, you know,
Exactly. But I love him. I still love him, Jerry. I love him.
hopefully he watches this. Um, the thing about New Orleans that I recall when I was growing up there was, yes, the sense of community. And I too feel, even in Seattle, which I think is a bit more community focused in certain parts of Seattle, the growth that the region has experienced, similar to Vegas, but in a different way for different reasons, mainly tech. That I don't know my neighbors. I never have. I've lived here. I've actually lived in Seattle longer than I lived in New Orleans at this point, and I still barely know people. Friends come and go. All of my lifelong friends, with the exception of just a very small few, are back in New Orleans. And here in Seattle, they have a term for it, and I know from your perspective, you've experienced this because we've talked about this, but they call it the Seattle freeze, and it is very much a statement about how when you're a newcomer in Seattle and you're not part of a certain group, especially these days, that you will experience a lot of just kind of standoffishness from the people that live here. And then there's a ton of money coming into the area, but as soon as that money comes in, it goes right back out to the families of the people who have moved here for better opportunities for work. So so taxes keep going up and up and up, and the disparity, which it does exist in New Orleans between the haves and the have-nots, it exists very much so here in Seattle, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know if you're right. New Orleans definitely is stuck in its ways in many ways, and it's always as long as I can remember. The whole reason I left New Orleans is because I sought economic opportunities that did not exist there. Specifically when I was in tech, or I guess I still am in tech, but that required me to leave New Orleans to get to those opportunities. And by doing so, I lost all my family connection. I mean, I still have them. It's not like they just said, "Oh, you're out of here, kid. No more. You're not coming back to the family if you leave." Quite the opposite. They've been very supportive, but it's been tough being out on the West Coast, because I moved to the Bay Area first, and then I moved up here to Seattle. And the Bay Area is its own special kind of fun and hell at the same time. And you talk about cost of living. When I was looking to buy a house, a fixer-upper was $650, and that was in the hood. So, you were lucky if your tires weren't, stolen. Your car wasn't up on cinder blocks when you woke up in the morning to go to work. So that's just kind of accepted as, well, that's just the way it is. And yeah, New Orleans does suffer from that, but we keep, there is a ton of stuff about New Orleans that makes it fun. And obviously it's attracted you to the city and kind of roped you in. And, it does have a way of doing that to people.
New York, it's very different, because like New York will chew you up and spit you out in 2 days.
Right.
New York does not suffer fools. It does not care about you. New York will break your heart. New York's like an abusive boyfriend that is super hot. And you're just like, you go back for more, but the
same thing happens every time.
Right. He doesn't care. You're in therapy. You're taking out credit cards and loans. It's terrible.
Boy.
It's really difficult. Whereas, like New Orleans is a manipulative, seductive boyfriend that's like not necessarily hot, but super attractive with secrets.
Right.
And if you're anything like me, you need to discover that secret. Like it becomes a treasure hunt.
Right.
And then, you start realizing that you are putting up with things that you normally wouldn't put up with. Like, I don't know, potholes, the size of Lake Erie, flooding, neighbors who blast music 24/7, and you just have to suck that up. You play firework or gunshot a lot, and you're like, why is this my norm?
Right.
So anyway, but yeah.
Yeah. It's always been that way. I have some relatives that live on the North Shore or live in Baton Rouge that will not go into town. They just simply won't. I
think that's a little, it's a little, I think the unique perspective of me having lived in all these different places is that and on top of living in these 4 places, I've traveled to 120 something countries, in my performance career. So like I've lived abroad. So I've experienced a lot of different cities. I've been in places. I mean, the funny thing is that, everyone talks about how like dangerous New York is. I would walk naked in Harlem at 3 a.m. and feel 100% safe. They would call me crazy,
exactly.
But I would not feel. There are times when I leave my own house here in New Orleans where I am terrified.
Yeah.
I was mugged in Atlanta, like in the middle of the MARTA station, trying to get a ticket to get a train. So like, when you talk to people about like safety and like whatnot with cities, and you like people that are like, New Orleans is is not a bad place to visit, but yes, you do need to have your guard up when you come
Hmm.
visit here. I don't want to lie to people. Like, we just had
Right.
a man who was an employee at SeaWorld just get murdered on Bourbon Street. Like, you have to be, you got to know where are the good areas, where are not. Do your research, ask people that live here.
Yep.
I mean, you just don't want to be another statistic. Like, there's a lot going for it, but there's stuff that needs to change and needs to be dealt with, for sure.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's so funny because I had some like New York friends here, and I consider myself to be liberal in my ideology, but like
Hmm.
they were so condescending in, I was walking them back to their hotel, and their hotel was about a mile and a half from where they were performing. And it was basically on the corner of Canal and Rampart, like right
Oh,
behind the
wow.
Sanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not,
Not,
yeah.
not, not somewhere you want to be
Yeah.
walking around aimlessly
Right.
at night. It's horribly lit.
Yep.
It's very dangerous.
Yep.
You don't know. And I was telling them that, and I was like, you want to really make sure when you're walking home, don't walk by these abandoned parking lots. These are like
Yeah.
primo, like where a lot of vagrants are hanging out, and they're going to
Yep.
come rush you. There's no cameras, there's no stuff. It's very easy to access you. They're dimly lit. I was trying to be helpful, and they were like, almost implying that like I was being overreactive, and they like and even maybe mildly racist or whatnot. And I was like, first of all, I never brought up race. I
Mhm.
don't I don't know who is gonna jump you.
Right.
I haven't been jumped, girl, because I follow these rules.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So I'm like, so I didn't say who was gonna jump you. I'm just trying to protect you. But also, I also lived in New York, girlfriend. It is 900 times more safe
Yeah.
than New Orleans is.
Yeah.
And that is just a fact. And if you want to pretend that you live, in a super super like mixed area because you live in at 124th Street uptown, I'm like, you're still living with people that pay over $4,000 in rent.
Right.
So like, girl, get some perspective. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the same. It's just not the same.
No.
And
No, you're
so yeah,
absolutely right.
that always used to make me laugh.
Now that used to be old Storyville, and that's got its own history to it. So,
Well, yeah, I
um,
mean, and Canal Street used to be the Rodeo Drive
yeah.
of the South.
Yep.
And now I tell people that come here, I'm like, this is a bridge to where you need to get to. You don't
Yes.
stay and hang out on Canal Street. It's
Yeah.
where it. So if you, a lot of people that stay on the hotel, because there's a lot of hotels there, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if it has a side entrance, do the side
Do
entrance.
the
If it
side
had,
entrance. Yeah.
but like, figure it out. Because I mean, and again, I don't want to paint it. I'm not painting it any different than what my experience is. Like I said, my first day, I think
Sure.
when we talked, my first day here when I moved here for grad school in broad daylight at the McDonald's on that Canal Street, I saw
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
stabbed and murdered.
Yeah.
When I came for my interview, that same McDonald's, which thankfully is not here. Maybe it's McDonald's. Maybe they were like, look, you fatties don't need fried food.
They raised their
You
prices to
know,
get rid of the riffraff anyway. So,
well, yeah, but that there was gunshot. There was a shooting at that McDonald's when I came for my grad school interview.
yeah.
So again, it's like, because I'm sure you're going to get people in your comments that are like, "Oh, New Orleans isn't unsafe," da, da, da. And I'm like, look, you could live here 50 years and never had one incident. Good for
Hmm.
you. I've lived here 7, and I've had 4.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
the bottom line is I'm still here. I'm still, despite all that, there's
Right.
enough that I love that I'm still here. But I'm not
Yes.
going to sit and sugarcoat it and be like, we're super safe. We have the lowest police force since World War II right now.
I know. I know.
But
I know.
do the math. Do the
Yes.
math. We're not doing well when it comes to that. It's
Yes.
better than it was, I guess, in a couple years ago, but there's a
Yeah.
lot that needs to be worked on. And what I think what my main issue is, and probably why I'm not like the spokesperson for New Orleans, because I've been asked a couple times and I think they stopped asking. But It's because the city doesn't take criticism well.
Yes.
Um, it's like they are immune to, especially if you are a multi-generational person. I mean, I've said this many times. New Orleans is the only place I've lived where I get why people never leave.
Hmm.
I really do. I get it. Everything's here. You have a built-in social calendar the minute you
Yep.
move here. It's like
Yep.
you never have to go, what am I going to do this weekend? It's like, oh, wait, what festival is this
Yeah.
weekend? Oh, wait, what event is this weekend? Like
Yep.
literally, I'm like, oh, wait, school starts for me. And then I'm like, oh, wait, then it's red dress run. All right, I got to go get a red dress. And da, da, da. Like,
Right.
there's so much stuff that's always going on that you never have to ask about, like, what's happening, but
Right.
there's I've never encountered a city where, like, you unless you're from here, you're not allowed to criticize it. Like, you can't say something bad about this city unless you were born and raised here, and then you can, even though it's totally true, even though it's
Right.
100% the reality. They will get on you so quick, and you're just like, whatever. I mean, if you're
Well,
that thin skinned, it's like, you know,
well, you're on social
yeah.
media, and we'll get to that. But the fact that, I mean, I'm sure you've taken many slings and arrows on, through comment sections and whatnot, keyboard warriors, people in their basement, that kind of stuff, just making snide comments. I'm sure you've had your fair share of that, but we'll dive into that. I mean, I don't want this to be, a let's bash New Orleans talk, because there's obviously there's a lot of things that are going on that are good, but specifically about you. You are teaching elementary level students drama right now.
Yes.
And that is quite the difference between teaching people like professional actors or wannabe professional actors to kids who may never have aspirations to become an actor, or maybe they do, maybe they all do at some point because they're having fun in your class. But it how did this come together? How did this happen?
Yeah. Th- yeah. How did this happen? I ask myself that every day I walk into the school. Um, no, it's very simple. So I was applying for, I graduated Tulane and I started applying for professor jobs
Hmm.
to teach theater. Um, and I make no sort of, it was a really odd time when I graduated. It was a post George Floyd, post Me Too. Well, look, not even post, like those two things were happening simultaneously.
Mm.
And so there were a lot of just wrongs that needed to be righted, that still need to be righted, which really was evident in theater departments across this country and universities.
Mm.
It was 99.9% just white men that
Hmm.
were running these things. And so it was, and the reason I talk so candidly about it was because it was voiced to me by many a university that were like, we love you, we just can't hire you. Not, you're not the right fit. It's like, no, we, without them saying that, they said that to me.
Right, right.
And I get it. And I really appreciated the candidness about it, because I was like, but I wish you wouldn't have let me jump through all those hoops. But
Right.
I jokingly say I could have probably booked a movie and 4 Broadway shows with the energy and amount of time that I put into trying to get a professor job. And,
Yeah.
most of these people that are teaching at these universities, they don't have the career performance resume that I have. They don't have the training that I have from, like,
Hmm.
NYU, from some of these unbelievable artists who created movements and created methodologies. Like, I trained under those people, and it's like, it was, to me, it was a no brainer that I would be,
Hmm.
not that I would be at Juilliard next week, but it was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do because I have been given all these amazing opportunities. No,
Right.
just,
Right.
again, I think I suffered from timing, which is the story of my life. So, they jokingly say, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And so I was planning, I had And this is why I'm not a big planner anymore, because every time I have and I put all my energy toward it, something else happens.
Yeah.
So I was applying. I got hired at a college in North Carolina that nobody's ever heard of. And and it was paying me nothing. And I was like, well, maybe I have to do this. I have to like pay my dues.
Right.
But I didn't want to leave New Orleans. I had just started dating Brett,
Mm-hmm.
who I now live with.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, my story's not done here. And
Yeah.
I came across randomly a Facebook ad. Either I came across it or someone sent it to me. I don't remember, but it like popped up and it was sort of like, oh, they want a theater teacher. You know what? I was
Why
working at a
not?
store, but and I was done with that. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Um, and so I applied and got hired, and it was like, oh, okay. And now I'm entering my fourth year at the school.
Wow.
And what I've learned, honestly, you said it's like very different teaching, college level professionals versus young kids. Yeah, there's obvious differences, but honestly, it's two different type of children. And you honestly sort of, and here's where what I consider to be my strength is I don't treat my young elementary kids like they're young elementary kids.
Right.
I treat them at their level, but I am not one of those teachers that are like, okay, friends,
Oh,
everybody,
God.
like,
Yeah.
well, I
Right.
don't do, and I am not ripping on these teachers, because the ones that are authentic about it really do a great job. But I am
Mm-hmm.
not a 1, 2, 3 eyes on me. I don't do stomp clap things that, calling it. I'm like, what are we in a damn parade? Like, I don't do any of that
Right.
because I don't know how to. It's not because I think it's what I do is better. It's because authenticity is the key to life for
It's
me,
not that is not you. That's what you're saying.
Right.
That's
And
you are
so
you,
if I
right?
tried to do it, the kids would smell right through that. They'd be like, what are
Sure.
you? And I see teachers who try to do it, and I'm like, that's not you, girl.
Yeah.
They don't need to be catching bubbles. That's my favorite one. Everyone catch a bubble. What the fuck do you mean catch a bubble? It's shut up. It's to tell them to be quiet.
Right.
Just
Right.
shut up, kid. I don't need to make it sound more, cutesy.
Right.
Just
Right.
stop talking. And you're going to
Right.
stop talking because I told you to. We're
Right.
not going to make it a game. And so the ones that try to be Mary Poppins, I just laugh at, because I'm like, girl, you are so far from Julie Andrews. It's not even funny, but try your thing.
Yeah. Not with these kids. Not with these kids. There's
Well,
yeah.
and again, it's not me. And so what I sort of realized, yes, there may be a Broadway star amongst, but my job as a theater teacher at an elementary school is not to train the next Broadway star. And that's
Correct.
the big thing that I didn't really know going in. I made a very conscious choice, and I did this with my principal. I sat down and I was like, look, we could go so many different directions with this program, because I started this program and I was like, we could literally do a ton of things. And I go, I think we should offer really strong performance opportunities for that group of kids that want to do that, because I will take them on that journey. And our productions are fantastic. And it's because I don't know how to do children's theater. I just know how to do the theater that I know. And so I bring as much professionalism to those productions as possible so that these kids can learn this is what it takes to do XYZ,
Right. Right.
But for the majority of my classes, my goal is not to make them love theater. I don't love baseball. My brother did. I tolerate baseball. So, if you're a PE teacher trying to force me to like baseball, you're already failing. You're already on a totally doomed path.
Right.
My job is to give them life skills that they're going to be able to use in something that they do love. And so I've had so many parents come up to me that are lawyers, that are medical professionals, that are that are in front of people. And now I teach public speaking as well. I've modulated the middle school curriculum to really be about public speaking, because I'm like, I don't care what you do in life, you're going to have to be in front of a group of people
Yeah.
talking at some point. And so the real goal of the program is to instill confidence in these kids, because that is what I will say. I used to say every day at Tulane to my undergrad students, how the hell did you get this far in life? And then I started teaching elementary school and went, oh, that's how.
Yeah.
Because
right.
there's so little accountability.
Yeah.
There's so much fear these days between teachers and parents, and there's so many parents that think we're on opposite teams fighting each other, and it's like,
right.
no, girl, we're on the same team, we just play different positions.
Right.
Like, why there's just the narrative that teachers are like out to get their students. Like, girl, we don't think about you when we come home. We really don't.
Yeah.
And honestly, that doesn't make me a bad teacher. That doesn't make me a bad person. Just like you don't go home, you're a lawyer thinking about your clients. If you're an accountant, you're not going home like, oh my God, I've got to poor Jimmy and his bad write-offs. No, you go home, you decompress, and you do that's exactly what we do as teachers. For some reason, we are held to a different standard. We're hyper moralized, as if like, you know, I got a letter from God or Hogwarts that was like, you are now a teacher. And I'm like, no, I've always been a teacher. And I'm good at it from the hours of 7 to 4. And then when I get home, I decompress because I teach 372 children. I don't have the bandwidth or brain power to be concerned about 372 children outside of the hours with which I am employed to do so. And if you think I'm a bad teacher, then I could care less, really, because I'm like, come to my classroom and judge for yourself, because you know, I think it's ridiculous to expect teachers to be what most people think we should be.
One of the classes that I took at Jesuit was speech, public speaking. And I mentioned when we talked initially, a gentleman named Sonny Bory, who he ran the Phillectic Society, so basically the drama component of Jesuit, but he also taught the speech class, public speaking class. And I had never seen so many young men rattled by him, because he's like, no, you know, it was very precise in the way you deliver the concepts. You came up with, you essentially storyboarded your speech, and he would sit there, you know, at his table with his pen in his hand, watching you intently the whole time, and he would criticize you in front of everybody else. It was almost like, you know, director sitting out in the auditorium watching some numbers go, and then all of a sudden it's like, cut. No, this is garbage. You're garbage. What's wrong with you? He didn't really hold anything back, and which is fine. I mean, I think it made us better public speakers as a result. I definitely credit a lot of my comfort level talking to people publicly. I don't know if that's a natural progression for a lot of people in your position, you know, teaching drama and teaching public speaking, but it seems like that it feels like a trend.
I mean, it can be. I mean, I definitely know, oddly enough, a lot of actors who are terrified of public speaking. And most of those people are brilliant actors, because the two don't necessarily, or the two don't have to go hand in hand.
Right.
I mean, I think it's natural for an actor like myself to be an extroverted person, to be comfortable in front of other people. And comfortable, like, you know, talking and performing and whatnot. But it's not surprising if somebody's not. I think public speaking is, you know, I've taken a few classes, and then I realized, you know what, because I get asked a lot, why are you good at it? And how are you, did you do this? And you could totally take the Tony Roberts school of it. You could totally look at that slick presentation. And I look at all these keynote speakers that come and talk, especially to the teachers, and they're horrific. Yeah. They're and I was like, you could benefit from one of my classes, because here's, and I'll tell you why. And look, I'm not a bullshitter, and I don't believe in but I do believe in, there are two Greek proverbs that I try to live my life by, that my father over, my AP world history or European history teacher, probably the one of the most brilliant men I have ever learned, that I was taught by in my Jesuit high school in Cleveland, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
taught us these two Greek proverbs, which are know thyself and nothing to excess. So love, don't overdo it, but know who the hell you are. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know what I'm good at. I know what my strengths are. And you can say it's conceit and braggadocious, but I believe it's part of why I'm a good teacher, I guess, is because I know what I do well.
Right.
And one of the things that I stress and I really focus on in my classes is authenticity. And I brought that word up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's what makes you, you, and bringing that into the room as much as possible, because there isn't another of you. So
Right.
it's going to be different. It's going to be different just by that, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And so you can teach the skills, and I do. I teach things that like let's look at body language. Let's look at, you shouldn't, wandering and too many arms or whatnot. Let's talk
Right.
about speech patterns. Those are things you should be aware of that you probably aren't, stuff like that. You can give the tools, but if you're not at the end of the day making the kid understand comfortability and understanding, my theme for this year is you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. You have to know what uncomfortable is to know what your comfort is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to, what I do is I encourage that authenticity to be the medicinal remedy for that uncomfortableness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a kid feels confident in who they are, then any situation that comes along where they're uncomfortable, they rely on that knowledge of self and that comfortableness as themselves to move forward. The problem
Right.
is you get that kid that has all those skills. I could have taught them all the things on how to talk in front of a group of people. They know how to do X, Y, Z, but if they don't feel comfortable as themselves, it's like giving, a child all of the tools and saying, build a house,
Right.
you know,
Right.
they don't know how to do it because they don't have that innate feel of and comfort of it. I could teach
Right.
them how to do it, but they're going to doubt, they're going to whatever. And so, I don't know. I would love to think that I was like Robin Williams and Dead Poet Society, but I'm probably like a combination of like that, Miss Trunchbull from Matilda, Mary Poppins, and like, I don't know, just like a gay musical theater. Like I'm not one thing. I've got a lot of things, but like I do. I think the surprising thing about this gig has been just how much I was really worried I was going to have to dumb down all of this. Not, I mean, like I have my MFA in this, like it's our terminal degree. I got hooded and everything at my ceremony because you
Wow.
can't get any degree higher than that in performance.
Right.
If I wanted a PhD in theater, it would be the study of theater, which, girl, I've been studying theater my whole life. I don't need to be talking about it. I want to be doing it and teach others how to do it. So there is no DFA in the United States.
Okay.
So I was worried I was going to have to dumb this down for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't, we just did a whole unit on Greek theater. And it's like, yeah, we're not talking about Oedipus. And I'm not like, let's talk about what an Oedipus complex is, 6-year-old. How do you feel about mommy? It's like, I'm not doing that. But it's like, okay, if theater derived from the Greeks, if they're sort of the origins of structured storytelling, why can't I just say that? And why can't we just then go, great,
Right.
and you also have to take, I get asked to talk to new teachers a lot, and I'm like, I can tell you my experience, but one of the biggest things that I get asked about is, I ask new teachers all the time, why do you want to be a teacher? And 99% of them give you that bullshit, disgusting. It's not disgusting, but I'll tell you why I think it's disgusting, because I think it's actually narcissism, but they all give you that textbook, I want to make a difference in the
Oh
world, and I
God.
want to
Yeah.
change. I want to change. I want to change lives. Now that's noble. I'm not saying it's not. It's not gross, but I said you realize why that's the. So let me tell you why that's stupid. Okay, and they get that face of like what? Because most people tell them, "Oh, you'd be so good at that." First of all, you've just centered yourself at the narrative
Right.
of this child's story. You are making a difference. Okay. So who the fuck are you to think
Right.
that you are now this, right?
Right.
Secondly, how do you measure that?
Right. Exactly.
I, you have no idea. And this kid is not going to have an idea until they've had some distance from your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
go, wow, that teacher really influenced me,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And if that
Absolutely.
and if that is your goal, like, you know what I mean? Like, I go, why don't you give yourself something you can measure and actually achieve in your first year? Like, I want to increase the test scores of the previous school year, or I want to
Exactly.
make sure my kids understand stories if you're teaching English. I want to make sure
Right.
my kids understand grammar if I'm teaching Spanish, you know, and understand the difference between grammar and whatnot. I really want to make sure that give yourself something you can attack and
Right.
measure and get, you know, as opposed to I want to change lives. Girl, write a Hallmark card. Like you can't you can't measure that. And again, it's like I feel like everyone needs to study psychology because we while that sounds great and it's a great soundbite and it's a great, you know, whatever, as I said, it's so narcissistic. It just made you the center of this person's story. And
Right.
it's very white saviory to me. And it's very much, you know, because again, most people think that our day to day is like Mr. Holland's Opus or Dangerous Minds, where we're like every day is an opportunity to change a life. I go,
Right.
90% of our days are telling kids to shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
Just like just like a parent. That's what I tell parents.
Yeah.
Your weekends where you're telling your kids to shut up and sit down or shut up and do what they're told, we do the same thing with your kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I love that they think that we are, again, they think we're either Mary Poppins. I'm like, girl, I wish I had those powers. I'd fly the fuck right out. I'm open that up. Peace out, girl. I'm out. Like, right? Like it would be delicious all I have to do is do this and the room would be cleaned.
Right.
Great.
Yep.
You know, I wish it was that. I wish it were even announced like that.
I have no problem being the disciplinarian. No problem at all. Grew up with that. Jesuit is, they don't call it detention. They call it penance hall, which I thought was, now in retrospect,
We
What
called
would-
them jugs.
jugs.
Justice under God.
Wow. But
So if you
That-
got a jug, you had a jug card, and the teacher would take it from you, circle it, and then they would keep it, and it would get, or no, I think it gave it maybe. Well, I don't know. Somehow it was recorded that you had to then go to detention after school, and it was called a jug. Oh, I've got jug. Justice under God. So creepy, but I never got one.
I never got a PH myself, so I skirted that system. But anyway, we towed the line. We followed the rules, and yeah, we goofed off. I mean, come on, that's what you do as teenagers and young elementary kids. But when the teacher spoke up, and it was clear that the teacher was pissed, we stopped doing whatever it was we were doing, and the one or two kids that never seemed to listen to the teacher made the rest of us uncomfortable. So we in turn made that kid feel uncomfortable for acting out, and eventually it kind of worked itself out. But these days, parents and teachers, I think both, with your case being a notable exception, are afraid to lay down the law a little bit because in fear of retribution, whether it comes from the parents. And I don't know when the whole thing happened. Well, we're getting way off tangent here, but I don't know how the whole thing happened with when it became the teacher's responsibility to teach the children good behavior, and there was no accountability for the parents. I don't know when that became a thing. But I mean, if you misbehaved when I was in high school or as I was in elementary school, it was not the teacher's fault. It was my fault. And then the parents were embarrassed because I screwed around, not because the teacher caught me doing something, right? So
not anymore. Not anymore. It's a whole nother world now.
I just don't get it. I don't get. Look, and if that's where we're headed as a society, that's a much bigger problem that has nothing to do with where you live. Certainly not New Orleans. Maybe this will be one of the times that New Orleans, because of the time that it takes for things to take hold there, maybe it'll be late to the game with, certain kind of more, people like to call them progressive education. I think it's the exact opposite personally, but that's neither here nor there.
No, I don't know. I feel like there's a ton of stuff that tries to get implemented. There's all different types of learning now that they have out there. And we, again, every year, we have like 8 days of PD before school starts where we have professional development and there's always some expert that comes in. To be honest, it's all a waste of time. And, it's honestly the one thing that it's really the only like comment that I have about my school and whatnot is that's one part that they don't take a lot of feedback on. And, I feel like the one thing we just don't get enough of in this world is time, and time is precious. And so to me, I hate wasting time. Yeah. And I don't like being lectured at. I feel like there's a part of a bigger discussion, and it's my least favorite time of the school year because it shouldn't be. It should be rallying your team to get excited, rallying your team to be united, and I don't find it like that. And but again, this whole idea of, and this is something I try to teach my students, is the difference between feedback and criticism.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
And how to, not take things personally, how to learn how to do that. It's hard. I trust it's hard, but
sure.
Yeah, that is something I could talk about for hours, and no one wants to. I doubt your listeners want to hear about.
Well, this is already looking like it's going to be a two-parter. So, but that's
solving the teaching crisis.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, back to your social media gig. Okay, so you own on Facebook. It's called Gregisms. Is it the same thing on TikTok as well and Instagram?
TikTok is Gregisms. Instagram is Gregisms Official.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah. Gregisms, for the most part, if you type in Gregisms, you'll see my face somewhere.
Okay, so why did you start this? What prompted you to do this?
Yes. So I jokingly refer to myself as the accidental influencer. This was never a plan. This was never something that I aspired to, which is hilarious because all of my students aspire to it now. That's like the number one.
They want to be influencers.
I think nationally, that's it's one of the top 3 professions that young students in K through 12, when they ask them what they want to be an influencer, which makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Yes, I'm right there with you.
Because I don't even know what I'm influencing, to be really honest. But no, I started like anybody was doing. I got on TikTok during literally like the month after the pandemic started. So April of 2020, a friend of mine would constantly text me TikToks, and I was like, I don't have this app. And he's like, oh my God, you've got to download it. It's so crazy. It's so much fun. I downloaded it, and like most people I know, I didn't emerge from my house for 3 days. It's like that initial TikTok.
Yeah,
you get binge. Sucked in, and you just and again, it was so new, and so I started watching videos, and I was like, I could do this. I started to make content, but here's what people don't realize, and here's where I do have to give influencers and content creators a crap ton of credit. And I don't, and respect, because a lot of them, I think it gets, a lot of them don't get the respect that they deserve, but I would put my heart and soul into creating like a video, you know, and it was very, they were very conceptual in the beginning. It was like, you know, okay, what's an idea that I have?
Hmm.
And what would it be? Okay, I could do this. And then it would take me a day or two or whatever. And then you post that video and then you have to do the whole thing over again.
Right.
Every day you got to do another thing. You have to have another great idea, another. And I'm like, holy, so there would be like weeks would go by where I was like, I didn't post a video because I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And it wasn't until I started just talking to the camera and started talking about my life, telling stories and whatnot, and just I found my online voice through doing that.
Mm.
And I started telling a story about my neighbor, and then I went from, I think, you know, well, no, I had about 25,000 followers in the summer, and then in the fall, I made this video about my neighbor, and I skyrocketed to 150,000 overnight,
Wow.
and then it just kept growing very quickly. And you know, I started posting every day,
Hmm.
um, and then then I figured out eventually it just sort of all kind of, you know, over the course of the last 4 years, I figured out, okay, here's what I want to be, here's what I want to do, here's what I want to share.
Right.
Um, and the reason it's called Gregisms is because a lot of it's just my thoughts on things, my take on things. You know, yes, I talk about my students. I
Right.
never use their names. I never
Of
use
course.
their,
They're real names.
but you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I like to tell stories. I'm an actor. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate us when we're like, we're storytellers. You know, that's what I do. I tell some story. And you know what we do, you know, you know, you can be, you know, gross about it or, you know, but we tell stories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm good at that. I'm good at telling stories. And so I tell the stories about what happens to me. I like to show the absurdity. I do like to laugh. So I find a lot of humor in situations.
Hmm.
And I think that that is, you know, one of my strengths. And so I try to bring that levity to the stories that I tell. I try to find the humor in a lot of it. I try to find the joy in a lot of the things that have happened to me, you know, by through this weird social media thing, and it kind of blew up. And I will
Yeah.
say, you know, because you had mentioned back there, you're like, oh, I'm sure you've dealt with your fair share of like commenters
Yeah.
and whatnot. I luckily, knock on wood, have been very, very lucky. I really don't have a lot of haters. I would say my more mega viral videos that I've done,
Yeah.
those have invited the, you know, again,
Whatever.
it's people that want to discredit your experience versus
Right.
understanding that, you know, I don't I don't speak in absolutes. I'm just giving you my whatever. So every now and then you get a couple people, but honestly, even those have not been. It's not like I receive death threats. I don't receive, you know, I receive just childish, I would
Yeah.
say, negative, you know, stuff. But I've been very lucky in that sense.
Well, that's great
Um,
because I think that's more. The more popular you get, the more susceptible you are to receiving that kind of unwanted attention. But you've been able
well, people
to.
don't like to see other people succeed,
I
especially at something
know.
that looks seemingly easy.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, being a content creator looks like it's, oh my God, you just like make a video. And it's like, yeah, but do you know how to edit videos? Do you
Yeah.
know how to film videos? But also, do you know how to think of these ideas? Like,
Hmm.
it's not just, you know, so it looks super simple. And so people love to rag on successful people that did, you know, nobody's ragging on, you know, a Nobel Prize winning scientist because they're like, oh, he he worked for that, you know, and it's like, right, but not that I'm equating the two. I'm equating work, right?
Right.
Obviously, it is much more difficult to be a Nobel Prize winning scientist,
Sure.
but I'm not talking about whether what's harder. I'm talking about the fact that both people work, you know?
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
don't, but people don't like to think of it like that. We get because life is a competition, and
Mm.
unfortunately, but you just have to decide what games you're competing in. You
Yeah.
know, so that's my that's my Hallmark card for you right there.
Now you're changing
You
the
know,
world. Um,
there you go. Exactly.
as far as when you got started, and you said you went to 25. Now, this is 25. You originally started on TikTok. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. When did
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I mean, I
decide
had
to
a
make the?
personal Instagram,
Okay.
and but then I just changed it to a creator account and changed my name. And so I had 1,000. I didn't even have 1,000. I had like 900 followers.
Okay.
Which is crazy to me because I'm like, I don't have 900 friends. You know what I mean? Like nobody does. So I was like, and I remember when I broke 1,000, I was like, oh my god, I have 1,000 followers now. And then I reposted something from TikTok onto Instagram, and that went,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my god,
Mm.
and now I think I have 176 or 178,000 followers on Instagram, which is nothing crazy, but it's harder
But
to grow on that platform because it's been around a lot longer.
well,
Um,
sure. I mean, but I think your numbers are very respectable. Honestly, as a guy who tells very short stories and edits them with the level of precision that you have, and it's able to go 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 go. You have successfully navigated what is expected of content creators for these platforms, which is quick delivery.
Yo, we're about to go back to school, and I am not starting off this year like a hot mess. Just look at my office.
Quick message.
That I never have to use one of these things again. What do they call it? An Allen wrench? Well, who the hell is Allen? And why does he hate us? Well, Allen, you can take your wrench and shove it up.
Entertainment.
Okay, I literally can't see. Y'all, I'm about to get in an accident at Sam's. I gotta pull over. I got so much stuff, I think I have to get one of them flatbed. Oh my god, y'all, I did.
And then you're done. Well, see you next time you post something, right? And that's, you can look at I'm sure you've looked at the analytics of your videos on Facebook, and you're not, are you on YouTube? Did you bother to do YouTube as well?
no, I have a YouTube channel that has 8 or 9,000 followers that I've never posted. I've reposted a couple of my TikToks on YouTube Shorts, and I have people that follow me, I guess, for no reason. But we are branching out very soon, creating a very different, totally different channel, long form content.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's going to be a lot more work, but I think a little bit more fulfilling,
Sure.
and I think a little bit more of a way for people to really get to know me and get to know about like my vibe, how I am, what I do.
Yeah.
It's not so quick and sharp and whatnot. It's going to be more like hanging out with me would be. So that is in the works. Hopefully, first one will be dropping this fall.
Cool. Is it going to be
So I mean, obviously the idea is to make the long form content, but then to make it, within all of that, to make content that then could be used, little snippets that I could edit to put on my other ones. But, it's, obviously like, it's a filming nightmare because you have to film in 2 different widths, and I wish we could just figure out how to do one frickin' way. But you got to film vertical, film, horizontal. You got to film, and it's an editing, whatever. But most likely, what will happen is it'll get on the YouTube channel first, and I'll sort of look at what I liked and what bits I could snippet. But we're like I get asked a lot about New Orleans and where should we go. Where I get emails every day and messages and every day asking me, "Hey, I'm coming to New Orleans. What shouldn't I miss?" And it's like people want me to play tour guide, and I'm like, y'all, I would never leave my house because I would be constantly answering messages So I give people access to me, but I never tell them that I'm obligated to respond.
Right.
So I know people send me messages a lot and I don't respond. And it's like, look, I have to live a life as well. I can't just,
Sure.
sit and respond. But I buy thousands and thousands of messages asking me lots of New Orleans trips, because a lot of people come for the first time and they're like, what restaurant should I go to? Where should I stay? What show should I see? All that stuff. And so this channel is sort of answering those questions by, instead of me doing a TikTok video, which is, like my top 5 New Orleans restaurants and here's why, that content, it's so oversaturated because everybody wants to be an influencer, and doing reviews is an easy way for anyone to jump in, right? Because your voice, I would say 99% of them fail because if you have nothing to bring to it, you're just doing what 9 million other people are doing.
That's right.
So it's not that you have to be different and you got to do it in a different way, but if you're not interesting, I'm not coming back to your channel to watch you review anything else. I might watch that one video, but if you're not engaging, if you are not bringing your authentic self to the platform, I'm not coming back to watch you talk about something else.
Right.
So I didn't want to do that. But also the real thing is that TikTok videos are literal flashes in a pan.
Yeah.
YouTube videos have so much more. I just watched a video on how to improve my second serve in tennis. That's from a year ago, but it was like the number 1 recommended video on YouTube. And so YouTube has a longer shelf life. So rather than me do a review of my restaurants that I like to go to, I'm going to, so I've set up one now with I can't say the restaurant yet, but it's a newer restaurant, but it's a phenomenal restaurant. And we're going to cook together in their kitchen, and I'm going to film it. I'm going to learn about the chef. I'm going to learn about, and it's going to be fun because I like to cook, but I'm certainly not a chef. And so I'm going to try not to kill myself, but it's going to be it's fun that way. It's a great way for the restaurant to get some advertising, and I'm not paid by them. These are places that I like to go to.
Right.
And it's it's a fun way to be like, why are you weird? It's like what you're doing to me right now. I want to learn about these chefs. I want to learn, how the hell did you become a chef? Like, why did you know? And do your family, do your friends hate you when you're like, oh, because I find food to be pretentious sometimes, right?
Yes,
it's like,
it can be, for sure.
At the end of the day, don't talk to me at some freaking fancy French cheese that I can't pronounce. I'm sure it's delicious. I want a slice of pepper jack sometimes, every now and then I want to just eat what I like to eat. So it's going to be all of that, as opposed to just here are the top 5 restaurants I ate at this week. And, I watch so many people try to do it and so many people do it. And you just got to go dude, no one cares, at this point, but again, I get asked so much that I was like, this will be a fun, cool way for me to highlight. And it's not just going to be New Orleans places. I think it's going to be where I'll do some stuff in Vegas, where I go a lot. I'll do some stuff in New York. I'll do some stuff wherever I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to Minneapolis next weekend. Maybe I'll, be like, what the hell's up in here? But it's like, I want to learn, and, and it's a good way to do. It's just a good way to branch out and to answer those questions, I guess.
The term they call it is evergreen content, right? That's stuff that sticks around forever. And there are some people that have said that they have content that they created 4, 5, 6 years ago. And this one guy was doing a video about how to fry a turkey for Thanksgiving and not blow up your house. And that video's been up there for several years, maybe even going on a decade. And the only pop that video gets is right around Thanksgiving time. And so he just keeps it up. It's not like you're getting charged to keep it up there. So,
right.
And what you're talking about is, it's content that you can keep around, or if you have your top 5 for 2024 and then 2025, you can keep going with that, but whatever you end up doing. Yeah. Look, have you been able to determine, who the audience is for Gregism.
Well, it's funny because I don't have a large gay following, which can be. I think it's very easy to sum up why. I mean, I'm not ripped abs and like conventionally like that ridiculously handsome. I mean, I know what I bring to the table. I know my strength.
Right.
I'm not an ugly person at all, but I'm not Henry Cavill, and I don't post thirst traps, and I don't, and I'm not trying to, but I also don't post a lot of exclusively gay content. So I find that it's hard for the gay community to find me. And then when they do find me, they either, for whatever reason, it's just they don't like to follow, and I think it's because I don't post content that's exclusively for the LGBTQ community. So I'm fine with it. I've made my peace with it. I also think a lot of gay people don't like to see other gay people be successful. Again, something that seems easy. Gay people are very competitive. And can be. And so I'm like, y'all need therapy and you need to study psychology, because I psychoanalyze everyone to the core. And so I'm just like, it's people that just, yeah. But I would say that the typical Gregisms fan is somebody that likes to laugh at absurd situations.
Sure.
They like to laugh at the just life. They like to. I don't get political, not because I'm afraid of it, but because I was very politically charged in my 20s and early 30s. I was very much involved in things. I fought for a lot of things, and after a while, I got tired. But more importantly, again, learning about like ego and learning about. Not like ego like you normally. I'm talking like actually studying the id and ego and studying really start studying, learning about it. You just kind of go, nobody gives a shit what the hell I think about Donald Trump being, the attempted assassination. No one wants to hear the greater Gregisms picture on, foreign policy of Ukraine and my favorite now, the conflict over in Palestine and Israel. Like, you want it. People are like, oh, you finally are talking about it. I'm like, I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about it for many reasons, because you don't need to hear my opinion. Do you want to hear my opinion? Great. When we meet face to face and you come to the table with some context, we can talk about it. But like, I gave up thinking that people gave a shit. Like I would read old Facebook statuses and be like, I deleted I went through it probably 5 years ago. And before I even started the channels and whatnot, because I was like, ew, listen to how conceited and like, nobody fucking cares unless you are that. And so I stopped. That's why I don't post that stuff. Because I'm like, do you really? First of all, if you knew anything about me, you would know where I lean politically, most likely, right?
Right.
So you would go like, oh, I assume they're whatever. So what else do you want to know? Like,
exactly.
I mean, it's like, why do I have to beat the dead horse and talk about how whatever? It's just stupid. And even the content creators that I watch that are political, because I watch a lot of political content creators, I go like, do you get so sick of just the talk about storytellers, right?
Oh God,
the headlines of all of those videos that are like, Trump devastated at debate, all these gorgeous words, and you're like, okay, he was not devastated. Like that was it was not at all what you just said.
It's all clickbait.
It was a blip.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And so, I don't do that. And I think my followers appreciate that. They
Yeah.
can come to my channel and it's a safe space. And it has created this weird conglomerate of people because I would say probably the majority of the people that follow me are probably on the other end of the political spectrum. But I'm like, but you've been lovely to me.
Right.
And I have been lovely back to you
Right.
because at the end of the day, I really don't care. At this
Yeah.
point, girl, you're 50. I am not going to change your mind. And if
Right.
I do, it's going to be because of my actions. It's going to be because you came to that realization, not because I fought you and forced you into submission
Correct. Correct.
to whatever. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more of leading by example, action speaking louder than words, and actually fucking communicating with each other
Yeah.
than me trying to get, like my nightmare would be if like Pierce Morgan invited me to be one of his panelists. I would be like, I'm done. I'm done. Not because I'm afraid of him or
Right.
afraid of that fight, but because that seeing four people just automatically decide that they are against each other, that their goal is to defeat the other
Yeah.
person. I'm like, this is the end of humanity here.
Yeah.
This is the end of discourse.
Yeah.
It's not that we can't talk about these things. It's that if I go into something thinking it's going to be a fight, well, then it's going to be a fight.
Right. Exactly. Now, would you go on Bill Maher's show?
Oh, 100%. I adore Bill Maher. I would just go on to fangirl because I think
I love him. I think he's great.
There's no other show on television that has discussions like he does. These people don't fight. Sometimes they disagree very aggressively, but they are. It's just healthy discussion, and I'm not saying that because he and I probably are similar in our beliefs. It's more because I am so sick of watching people argue, and I'm also so sick of watching people. I'm just so sick of people's opinions. I'm like, dude, what are your credentials to have this opinion?
I mean, anybody can have an opinion, but it comes down to, why do I need to hear it? What is it that you think makes you so special that you can just blast, something in my face and I'm supposed to take it at face value? It's just, no, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter, what side of the spectrum you are on, whether you're left or right or in between. I don't think that, well, I mean, here we go again into the weeds. But there is civility. There can be civility, and I just don't understand. I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the networks. It's coming from the people who make money off of division, out of derisive shows like Pierce. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but his producers and the executive higher ups are like, you got to keep your numbers up so conflict is away. People tune into that stuff. But you're a clear example of when you're a clear example of when you bring a positive message, even if it's in something about something that happened to you that was kind of bullshit. You make people laugh and you make people think too. And I think that's one of the things that's really difficult to do today. Is this is the way they see the world and that's it, right? And they're not gonna open up their view. I don't see color. I don't see, whatever identity you want to be. I just don't. Man, I got too much bullshit going on in my own life. I don't freaking care. I don't think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me what you choose to do with your life, as long as you live your life the way you want to, and I can live mine the way I want to. And when we agree on things, great. And if we disagree, we can still be friends. We can still hang out. It's not like, all of a sudden we're mortal enemies because we don't see things eye to eye. But I think that people see your content and they're like, even if they don't agree with you politically, the fact that you bring stuff to the table, you bring these really great postings that I think just make people feel good again.
I just had to write down an idea for a video that, as you were talking, because I've been meaning to do this video for a long time. But it's it's things that I teach kids, things that we as teachers try to teach kids that adults need to be fucking reminded of. And
Yeah.
the number one thing is, how many times do we tell children to stop comparing yourself to other people? And
Yeah.
comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
That's one of those. I think Maya Angelou was the person that said that. And if it wasn't, it sounds like she did. So just fucking quote me on it.
Yeah, we'll run with it.
You literally could say Maya Angelou said anything, and people would be like, "Yes,
Yeah.
yes." Like, you literally, this actually should be a video talking about like the bullshitting people. Like, Maya Angelou once said,
Yeah.
"Shit not twice in the woods," and people would be like, "Yes,
Yes.
Maya said it. She did. All you have to do is just, if you want to say anything, just say Maya Angelou said it, and you're going.
You're killing me.
No one's going to question that. But it really, truly, honestly is, and people more so than ever. Like, it's not about like, it's stop concerning yourself with other people.
Yeah,
just stop concerning yourself. Now, there's a big difference between what I do is observational humor. So and it's natural. This isn't, again,
right.
Actors. I'm a trained actor, but more importantly, I'm fascinated with people.
Sure.
Because I'm not. There are enough channels out there that are Pollyanna positivity. That's not me. I'm not that. I'm not someone that's like, you are loved, you are beautiful.
Right.
No, girl, you may not be loved. I don't know your life. And you know what? I think you ugly. So I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you that, but it's like, I'm also not going to I'm not going to lie to you. You know?
Right.
So yeah. I'm not always super positive. I think what has drawn people to me is that again, I go back to this word authentic, because I hate the phrase like keep it real, because that's a bullshit phrase. Yeah. Keeping it real is your opinion, right? So when people are like, I'm keeping it real, no, you're voicing your opinion, because your reality ain't my reality, girl.
Exactly.
It's not that we're not always the same thing. And so, I just I just wish adults would sometimes remind themselves that you don't need to care about what other people are doing.
Exactly.
And someone's win is not always your loss. Now there's bigger pictures. There's bigger pictures there, and I get it. There's nuance. Nuance is why I can't do any of these political things, because in a 90-second video, you can't be nuanced.
No.
So, I get all the time. People. You read comments, people are so, I'm talking about other people's posts that might do this type of stuff. People are they're looking at what you didn't say more than they're looking at what you did say.
Exactly.
So even with this interview, I could have said like, yeah, New Orleans isn't safe right now. People latch on to what you didn't say, but like make it seem like you did say it in a bigger sense, and you're just like, well, no, I didn't say New Orleans is the most dangerous city, or I didn't say New Orleans is a bad place. I said New Orleans has a safety issue right now. New Orleans needs to New Orleans has this issue or whatever, because people love to inject themselves into your shit, your story. Worry about yourself. Right. I say it all the time. Like a broken record. I should just have like a list of things Mr. Greg is going to say throughout the year.
Yeah, we need to get you like a GoFundMe for your own sign that you can put up. As a guy who's been married for 20 plus years at this point, I know when to avoid those conversations, but I get caught all the time. Oh, so you're saying this? I'm like, no, I didn't say that. Well, exactly. You didn't say that, so that's what you meant. And I was like, no.
Well, first of all, it's such a dumb question. It's such a dumb question because it's like, girl, a shirt ain't gonna make you look fat. You are fat.
Yeah, right.
Your question should be, does this hide the fatty, or does this accentuate the fatty? Because that's the real question.
That is the real question. You're absolutely right.
And that's where the honesty has to be. This is again knowing thyself. Fat people don't know they're not fat, but if you're in denial of the fact that you're fat,
Yeah.
then that's a you problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you people know not to ask me those kinds of questions because I'm honest to a fault. I'm not mean about it. This is, again, I don't keep it real. But if you ask me my opinion, hey, did you like that show? No, your cousin Amy is shocked by this because she's so
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
She's very much like, I shouldn't give my opinion. So she thinks I hate everything, and I'm like, well, no. You ask. I'm answering your question. Don't read into what my answer is. Did you like so and so? Oh no, I didn't like it. And I always tell people, if I use a different word between love or hate, then I really have strong feelings about it. So if I say like, I loathe, I despise, then But if I'm like, oh my God, I love, da da da, I overuse them to a fault, which I admit. But no, don't ask me a question you don't want the answer to, because I'm going to tell you, and in a way that, does this shirt make me look fat? If I'd be like, oh yeah, well it looks like it's small, so are you trying to not have that? Like it's going to be, yeah, that's not a very flattering shirt on you. I don't think that's very flattering. Right. No, I don't offer it unsolicited.
Right. Well, that's a sign of maturity. That's just.
What kind of friend would you be if I let you leave the house when you were worried about looking a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That shirt accentuates the fact that, girl, you're overweight.
Yeah.
So if that is the goal, now some people don't care. All you got to do is go on a Carnival cruise and look at the clientele there, and you're like, I wish I had the damn confidence of a Carnival cruise passenger. My God, we could solve every self-esteem issue if we just all had that damn confidence. That's why I don't get on other topics, because I don't need to tell my audience. Things that don't. It's all stuff that is my experience. It's stuff that's and it's usually this is what happened, or this is my take on things. Like when I go on a rant about Southwest seating policy, and I'm like, I don't get this. I don't get why this is a thing, and I don't get. And here's what I look at this, because I have so much anxiety and anxious and about it, because I'm, it's like the Hunger Games, or like when I go on a rant about who is naming the hurricane storms.
Then we get Debbie. And not even Debbie with an I-E. Debbie with a Y. Why? Debbie with a Y is always asking to speak to the manager. She got the same bad perm from 1972, and she reeks of designer imposter perfume.
And what the hell? And this is what I think of when I hear these names and whatnot. Again, it's comedy and it's whatever, but it's not like, I'm not like, guys, we need to talk about how terrible this is. It's more of it's a take on something, but it's not a take down.
Would you say that you're kind of like illustrating absurdity, and by doing that you're
totally. And I don't know if you watch these, and you don't have to by any stretch. I think they were hysterical, but like last summer I oddly was getting a lot of my friends we're now so old that some of them have. So they started young, I have to say, but they have high schoolers that were graduating. So I oddly got a lot of senior pictures.
Yes.
And I was just blown away at how absurd senior pictures have become. So I did and it went huge viral, but a 3-part series on like, what is up with this? Like, girl, why are you on a ladder? Where are you going? And where are you coming from? Or what in the middle of nature? What made you say, you know what, I want to get in the water? Hold on. So, because I got called out by a few people, like, oh, making fun of kids is so. First of all, I was like, look, everyone's on the table as far as I'm concerned. Like, you don't get to gatekeep who I get to comment on, girl. That's my job.
Right.
But more importantly, I'm not making fun of the kid. I'm not saying, look, I never say, look how dumb this person is. I'm commenting on the absurdity of the posing that is of the staging that is going on in senior pictures.
That I didn't take senior pictures, only this photo for the yearbook, in which case I look like a closeted realtor trying to sell you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Mandeville. But I digress. So with the help of a local photographer, I recreated some of my favorite senior picture poses in my very own senior portrait photo shoot. First up, we had to do a shot with a ladder, preferably one that went to literally nowhere. Next up, we have the too cool for school wall lean, but I had to add a little drama because #gay. I call this next one, God, I'm a dancer, in which case we remind the world that we can kick and stretch. Don't mind if I do. I found tons of people randomly touching statues. I call this one, we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. We have the classic park bench, although I chose to add the look off into nowhere and make people uncomfortable as they wonder what you're looking at. I found a whole collection of people taking pictures through moss. I call this one, I'm fairly certain a spider just crawled up my shorts. I found this one of this girl looking like Nell in the woods. Tay-Tay and a Wayne, girl. And of course we got the Bend It Like Beckham. Ki-yi! And then we took these because I'm a jackass. I call this the squatty potty. This is my blue steel. Pika boosted. I look like Cheetah Rivera in Kiss of the Spider Woman. I call this one the trifecta because I got the lean, the ladder, and nature. Bam! But we did actually get one really cute shot. Although I'm not crazy about where that crack placement is, but I digress again. Find your joy.
You like, what are you doing for this perfect photo? Like, it's that kind of stuff that I was commenting on. And that's where, again, nuance. I did have, those were those comments. And I wouldn't say people were mean, but they were like, people just don't think. They don't have that like, oh, wait, let me actually go back and watch that. It's like everyone wants to be offended. Everyone wants to be whatever. So it's my take on. I don't take down people. I'm not making fun of, I'm not making fun of kids doing senior pictures. I was just pointing the fact that, wow, boys these days have 3 poses. You can either be crouched, you got crouching tiger, you got this like, they were like, I'm like, what the hell are these? Because I Googled it then and I was looking at images like crazy going like, oh my God, this is like a thing. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't believe, I don't believe in low hanging fruit. I think it could be super easy to just get on and rip on people. And a lot of people do, but I think a lot of people fizzle out because of it. They start doing videos where they're just like, where they're taking down people. And I will say, I think I'm a glutton for punishment because before we were starting this video, I am obsessed lately with body cam footage channels. I don't know if you like law enforcement. Yeah. Obsessed. Like I've watched probably 4 videos today of just like people getting arrested. I watched this channel called Audit the Audit where it's bad police officers that are that channel is my crack. I know nothing about any of it. I'm obsessed with people though. It's why I love studying people. I love studying behavior, why people do what they do. I think is why I feel like I'm attuned to the acting profession. I'm always looking to see, well, why did they do that? Why is that their motive? Yeah. So, well, I don't know. I mean,
no, you're absolutely right though. I mean, there's mine, by the way, is like the vehicle cams when people like road rage incidents, and you watch those and you watch what happens with the road rage incidents. It's like,
have you seen the cameras though? There's because Brett has a camera in his car, and I'm like, thank God, because we need them now because people are crazy. But in Asia, specifically in China and then in Russia, it became a huge problem where people were committing insurance fraud. So everyone had started getting cameras because people, and they're the most hilarious compilation of videos where someone will pull up to a crosswalk and someone, a pedestrian will just run and jump on their car and then pretend that they got hit. Yeah. And like slide off the car and be like, oh, he hit me. And I'm like, I get in YouTube holes. That's my problem. I think that's why I wanted to create a YouTube channel, is because now I won't have time to watch the other videos because I'll be making my own. But I go down rabbit holes where I won't leave of my room for a few hours because I'm obsessed with watching. Brett will always ask me, "What the hell are you watching?" And I'm like, "I just love that these people exist. I don't think I'm not supporting them or condone. I just love that this is a thing
Yeah.
in our world. We've in 2024 with all of the evolution we've had, we have jackasses running onto a parked car,
Yeah.
pretending they were hit to make money, to make insurance. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Great. That's where we are.
Like I don't know if you remember that movie with Schwarzenegger, the Running Man, where they were prisoners and whoever made it through the end of this obstacle course, these were convicted felons that I think had death sentences. Whoever made it to the end got released, but all the people that it was a game show that people watched on TV, and you know, people were dying. These prisoners were dying left and right. You know, it's just like, and it was. Yeah, that was, and
I just love this the sentence though. It's this movie starring Schwarzenegger. Should have been your tip off right there. That the answer is no. No, I have not seen that epic piece of cinema.
Well, obviously, I'm still getting to know you a little bit. So
I have. I've actually seen a lot of Schwarzenegger movies because
Okay.
I do love the people around him.
Yeah,
Like True Lies is a masterpiece.
True Lies is awesome. Yeah, that was one I watched far too much as a young'un. I over and over again. Yeah, True Lies was good.
Yeah, see, I probably understand why. I did too, but I wanted to be her.
Oh, you know
more
what?
so than
She didn't do anything for me in the beginning. I guess we're talking about Jamie Lee Curtis.
yeah.
Yeah, no, she didn't really do it for me. I don't know if it was the short hair or whatever her facial structure is. I'm not sure. But after watching that scene a couple of times, I was more of a Sharon Stone guy, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
Basic Instinct.
Oh, God, yes.
Sharon Stone she scared me in that movie. I think
was her
she made me
girlfriend
gay
that-
because I was terrified of her sexuality, and I was like, that leg cross. I was like,
Oh.
girl, put it away. Put on some underwear.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You are in public, ma'am. This is a Wendy's. Yeah, I can't.
But yeah.
Sorry,
so,
Sharon Stone, but no.
Yeah, well, not now, certainly.
I try to support channels. I try to support content creators that are doing something. Like, even though I'm saying like I'm obsessed with these body cam footage.
Yeah.
I'm this guy that does audit the audit. He watches.
Yeah.
And then he literally has. I don't know if you've ever seen the channel, but
I have seen.
He's got like 3 million followers, but he posts case law from that state that shows this probably would have been the outcome, and here's what you should do in this situation, and and the man does extensive research. He deserves because I'm like you're now, because now what most people do now is they post someone else's video. They they're either responding to somebody else's content, or they do something just absolute, like the fact that the girl, the Hawk Tuah girl, is getting it absolutely insane. To me. And Andy Warhol was clearly onto something, but now it's not even 15 minutes. It's like you get your 5 seconds of fame and then get the hell out. But I'm like, that's really what I understand making money from something, but at the end of the day, that will be your legacy.
By this time next year, we won't even be talking about her, but she will have got her.
Well, because she hasn't
money.
earned the right. At this point, she hasn't earned the right to talk about anything else.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, do you know what I'm saying? That's my whole thing. It's like when Hawk Tuah girl starts talking, is a commentator on Fox News, I'm like, now we've lost it as a society. Like, now we have died.
We have officially jumped the shark. Yes.
Humanity is dead.
There were 3 more questions that I wanted to ask for sure. Okay. After all this talk about all the content that you've created and content that we watch and things like that, do you think that what you've done on those channels, because it's all occurred while you've been in New Orleans, do you think it's called any more attention to the city? And then on top of that, do you find that people recognize you because of the content that you've put out there, whether it be because of the city or just in general, they just recognize you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I post anything. I mean, I think I highlight the cool parts of New Orleans, and again, through like an outsider's perspective, because I'm not from here. So,
Right.
I definitely think, yeah. I mean, I would never call myself the ambassador of. I think trust me, there are channels popping up left and right. Like
Hmm.
most of them revolving around food. Like Nola Eats. This is the Nola Eats girl, the Nola Eats guy. These are all the
Yeah.
places because, yeah, that's the thing that, I don't do that. I sort of, if I go to a restaurant that I like, I'll take a picture of it, and people, I think people, I think I'm the most followed New Orleans creator. I don't know if that's exactly, but if not, I'm one of the top two, I would say. I think people, I mean, definitely people I definitely get recognized everywhere I go. Not like to the point of like, I can't go anywhere. Get recognized everywhere. Not to the, we're not, I would not be like, I can't go anywhere because I'm so upset. Ugh. No. But like random places. I mean, when we go on a cruise, when I go to Vegas, somebody will just come up and be like, "Oh my God, are you?" Most times people say, "Are you that guy?" And Brett is probably so sick of me doing this, but I never assume that people know it's me. So I usually play dumb, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I'm a guy. I don't know if I'm that guy. I don't know. Who are you talking?" I usually try to get them to articulate.
Right.
You're the teacher. Well, yes, I'm a teacher, so that they figure it out. But yeah, people are very sweet. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird, but I don't go places thinking like, oh my God, which is probably to my detriment, because sometimes I bet you people don't come up to me because they're like, he looks like he just rolled out of bed. I'm like, because I did. Like, I can't. Breakfast tacos like you did, girl, in your Lululemon pants. Like, like I'm a human.
Yeah,
I don't like put shades on and I can't.
Can I get the chef's table, please?
Yeah, I don't do any of that crap. But people again, I'm very lucky. People are lovely.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any bad experiences, Brett. I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Brett's probably like, what the hell? Why have you been talking so long?
He was like, can I cook now? And I'm like, oh, yes, go cook. Sorry.
So we already talked about we talked about the future, just by accident, the future for the YouTube content.
Yeah.
Is the plan to kind of stick around with the short form stuff on TikTok and, posting on Facebook and whatnot? I mean, are you going to keep that going, you think?
I mean, yeah, I think the plan is to not have the plan, because
right.
as I said, sort of early on, when I do, I am disappointed and something else happens. So
right.
I'm not stupid. I'm making sure that I do the right things with making sure I'm staying relevant so that I can make this, so that there's monetary gain here. Mm-hmm. But I'm not, I feel like the minute this becomes too much of a business is the minute I'm going to hate it, and the minute I'm not going to enjoy it. And I mean, I would love for this to take me back to the performance world. I would love for this to become something, not that I'm going to get famous, but that I could get back to creating characters and whatnot. And so if it allows me to gather a following that I get to go back and do that thing, which was my first love, yeah, that would be great. But if that's the plan, then I feel like it wouldn't work. But if it's something I'm putting out into the world to be like a secret,
right,
great.
Well, I mean, like you were saying before, yeah, you're not doing the plans, and the TikTok success was definitely not planned. Just kind of,
There's never a day where I woke up and was like, I want to be a social media influencer. Like,
Yeah, what the
I
fuck?
I
What
work
is an
now.
influencer? I mean, really? I mean, oh, that's right. You know what? I wanted to queue up this video because because it leads into my next question, but it also kind of parodies the influencer moniker as it relates to product promotions. Let me pull that up because that was funnier than shit. It's like, okay, here we are. So this is you looking kind of sassy. This is your thumbnail. This is the way you start the video. And let's go ahead and play.
Yo, I have to share this with you. So I get lots of emails asking me to collab with brands. Now calm down, I'm not bragging. I get lots of emails asking. But I would say that 99% of them are trash. They're from companies that are not reputable, and they clearly haven't watched my stuff. But I got an email today. It takes the cake, y'all. They want me to promote a breast pump. Y'all, what the hell my gay ass know about a breast pump? I don't procreate. I don't got boobs. I mean, I have been working on my pecs. But like, for real, could you see me trying to promote this to y'all? Milking is hard. So why not make it easy with this amazing breast pump? Like, for real, would any of y'all buy a breast pump coming from a gay man? My knowledge is limited on how them things work. And the best part is the email was like, we'd love for you to try it out and tell us what you think. Try it out? How the hell that gonna work? I've got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? Y'all brands gotta do better. Find your joy. And I call them out now. I respond like, because they like, what's one where they're like, it's clearly just like a cut and paste type situation.
Yeah.
You
They're
know?
looking for people with a certain number of followers, and they're just
right. They're not we're from this place. Like, we love your, like, my favorite one was we love your your recent content on facial something, and I'm like, I'll respond back. I've never made this type of content. Do better.
Okay, so then you end all the videos with Find Your Joy. Where did this come from? And obviously you've turned this into merchandise now. And you got some really cool stuff up there. I actually went, when we first talked, I went and looked at your website, and they're just cool. They're just, they're really, they're nice looking. They're very simple. Find Your Joy. Where'd that come from?
So it's a very funny, fun, quick story. But the first time I ever used the phrase in a video was that video that went super viral that took me from 25,000 to 150 overnight. When I was talking about Brenda Criss, and it was talking about Halloween. I was talking about how it was the pandemic year, and I decided to put up my Halloween decorations like Labor Day weekend. I was like, you know what? I am bored. I'm gonna go fucking stir crazy, and this is gonna bring me some joy. So I want to do this. And I was like, I did it. And my cranky old neighbor, who now is a dear friend, walked by and made a comment and said, "A little early for that, don't you think?" And I was like, you know what? Any other year, I might have agreed with you, but after that dumpster fire, like, I don't care if you took a shit in your yard and fucking finger painted and called it a Monet. What I said, if it brings you joy and you're not hurting anybody, find your joy and fuck off, is basically what I was saying. Is like, and so I used it there. But the phrase came from, and I used to say it, I wouldn't say it a lot, but I would definitely say it because it obviously impacted me. But it was post 9/11. Let's bring it down.
Okay.
Month after 9/11. I was in New York City. I was literally in New York when the towers were hit. I watched the second plane go in. But I was working for a company called Bravo On With The Show. Remember when Bravo TV was actually an arts channel and not Andy Cohen ruined it?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
I can't stand her, and she knows it. Anyway, with Bravo we partnered with a school that was by the World Trade Center, And we did a bunch of drama therapy sessions with those students to sort of process what the hell that was, because obviously there has never been, and there hasn't been since, a terrorist attack on US soil, the like which we saw. So we were doing these, workshops to help, and we did them with celebrities. And I had, in my 1 week, I had Harvey Firestein and Cyndi Lauper in my circle of kids I was the leader, the group leader, and these were like the artists that were with us. Now, they ended up, I don't know if this is when they met, because they ended up writing Kinky Boots, the musical, together and winning Tony Awards. But this is like 10 years, 15 years before that. So this I could have been there when it all happened, now that I'm thinking about this. But talk about two, and I mean the way their voice sound, the tones of their voices, iconic, but also could be like nailed on a chalkboard. Like Harvey Firestein's voice is like, I've heard he has a third vocal cord that actually lays on top of the two, which is why it makes him sound like that. That could be completely like Richard Gere gerbil, but like we're going. I love a I heard, allegedly.
Yeah.
But Cyndi Lauper, if you've never heard Cyndi talk, Cyndi Lauper has the most kind of obnoxious New York voice. Like, it's just a New York, it's so New York. And so she kept telling these kids, she's like, I think the question was, how do I get up every morning, and how do you make the day work and whatever. And she was like, you know what? You gotta figure out, you gotta find your joy. You gotta find your joy, whatever your joy is. And just the way she said joy, and I would say it in this accent whenever I would be like, you know what? Find your joy. He's got to find your joy. As if it was just like, you know what? Go take a nap. And anything sounds fun. Well, you know what? Fuck your mother. Like, you could literally, it
right.
all
just
sounds,
replace it.
Yeah. It's like, wait, what? Like, did you just tell your mother? Like, you have to take a minute to be like, because it's like, you know what? Fine. You know what? Just go to bed. Go to bed. You know what? Screw you. Like, you could say anything, because you don't get super whatever. She didn't get overly impassioned about it, but it just, so this phrase, find your joy, it just sort of like stuck with me forever. And then I sort of said it, and it was like, and then it became like it really became like because I thought about it a lot with before I actually said it, and I didn't purposely like think I was going to say it. I think I just said it because it popped out. But like, I've thought a lot about, journeying, and again, this is why I don't plan. But I talk about being an active participant in your life, being in the driver's seat of your life, because a lot of people wait for joy to come to them. They wait for things to happen to them.
Yep.
They chalk it up to a higher power. Like, well, if that's God's plan, girl, God don't have no plan for you, because that would then be called Calvinism, and that would be called predestination. And bitch, we don't believe that, right?
Right.
You are really a believer. God wants you to get involved in your own damn life. That's called free will. It's called all that. And so people, I think, need permission to sort of get in that. I guess it's like, stop being a passenger in your own life and take the bull by the horns and start making things happen, and stop making excuses as to why you can't. And so that was sort of that. I said, joy is not Amazon Prime. It's not going to just show up on your doorstep because you wanted some. You've sometimes got to go find it. You have to actually go out there and seek it. You have to make sure that it's on your brain, that that's what you want to be. And when I started doing that, I feel like that's what allowed me to meet Brett. That's what allowed me to, because my heart was open to it, because I was open to it. I was open to being surrounded by joy. And to be honest, people that were not bringing me joy fell out of my life. And I didn't realize it at the time. And I mourned it, and I still am mourning some of them, but I'm like, they're not in there because they don't provide that.
Right.
And it's not that you have to be Pollyanna, happy-go-lucky all day, because I that's been a problem in my life, is that I feel like people don't know what to do with me when I'm having a bad day. They're like, oh, wait, you're not bouncing off the walls crazy. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's called human, Diane. I'm having a fucking bad day. Like, am I not allowed like, they like short circuit. They're like, don't know how to compute. You're not. Yeah, deal with me like you would deal with anybody that's having a bad day.
Right.
Ask me what's wrong, bitch.
Right. Exactly.
And so yeah, it's just, I don't live by it. I wish I would say I'm not trying to create a movement, but I think it's important for people and myself to just be actively involved in your life. We get this one time to do it, and there's so many. I don't believe in regrets. My life is you're a product of your choices, and you're a product of what you did. And so, that's why when you're like, what's the plan for this? I'm like, the plan is no plan. The plan is live in the moment, take advantage of every opportunity that comes my way. But I'm done living with 5-year plans. I never ask anybody, what's your 5-year plan? I don't want to hear about your fucking.
Well, because it's inevitably going to change anyway.
Right.
I had a 10-year plan for the brewery. One of them did not include a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah.
And
nobody.
There it goes. Right. So.
But again, I just think it's stupid to have those things. I get why people want you to. They want you to look ahead. But if you're so busy looking at the moment, then you missed the moment.
Yeah.
You don't get to enjoy the ride.
That's right. Yeah. You're always planning. Exactly. You're always planning for the future, not enjoying the present. Right.
Well, and I think it also translates in other ways. I mean, Brett, this is why Brett is so good for me, is because we are very, very different in these ways, and we balance each other out. But I believe in memories in the bank over money in the bank. Mm-hmm. And now I look to Brett to help me be better financially, of like saving, investing and all. But when I went to those 128 countries, when I was on that cruise ship as a performer, I saw the world in 9 months, but I saw the world at 32 years old.
Right.
I saw the world not to zip line in Chile, but the passengers that I was on the ship with, that I was entertaining, average age was 74. So, mom and pop signed up, for a world cruise. They saved up their whole life to, finally go see, and, they're fucking taking their walkers and being like, oh, they don't get to go up Machu Picchu. It takes them 8 hours to get over. They can't do cobblestone, so they can't do,
right.
But even if they could, they have 5 years with those memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a whole lifetime. And what it taught me was Americans don't have that sort of travel bug that the rest of the world does. Because I'm like, what is the rest of the world doing that they travel so much? These are poorer countries. It's just not something that was ever instilled in Americans, because we have everything we need. So there's not a desire. They look at travel to Europe as a luxury. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're staying in 5-star hotels and blah, 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 but you're just not making it a priority. Right. But also, there's a lot of other things. But it's prioritizing those things in your life. I wish, my mother was a great example. I watched her work her whole life. And now she's finally, after retirement, doing all the things that she said she wanted to do. But even then, it's like pulling teeth together to do something for herself. And I was like, it's your life, Gloria. Mm-hmm. I love that you say that your children are your life, but no, we can't be that. We can't be only that,
Right.
Go do it for yourself. Go do it. So, I don't love when people make excuses for why they can't do something when they're able to do it. And this is why word choice matters to me so much as a person. And I think, again, why it makes sense that I'm an actor, because it's all about the words and whatnot. But there's a big difference between I can't do that to I don't want to prioritize that right now.
Right.
Like, verbalize what you actually mean. Like, this is not something that's a priority. Okay. But is it something you want?
Right.
Well, if that's something you want, this is where finding your joy happens. Girl, you're not gonna Ed McMahon is dead. He ain't coming to your house with a check to tell you that you can now go to fucking Europe. You have got to be, and part of that finding process is possibly saving up for it. Part of it is manifesting it. It's just making it happen. It's putting it as a priority to do it.
Yeah.
So when I get asked about it, what it means, it really is that. Find the things that make you happy and then do them. But you have to get up off your ass and do it. It's why it's find your joy, not be the joy or experience the joy. It's
right.
No, it's find it.
Right.
I mean, be an explorer of joy. Go
Sure.
Francis Drake that shit and get in a boat and if you have to, do it.
Yeah.
Even Magellan of joy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
As opposed to just sitting and waiting for it to come to you, because you'll be dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting way to put it. And hopefully Brett heard a little bit something more than your standard answer for that. I don't know. I don't know how deep you get into the whole process behind it, but it's incredibly fresh for me to hear this kind of perspective, because I think that a lot of people don't think the way you're asking them to think by finding their joy, because it doesn't mean just finding your joy. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of subtext to it that can be universally applied and at the same time can be very unique to that particular person. Like you were saying, that 86-year-old woman who's on the cruise, and she's not going to last that much longer, but she's trying to eke out last little memories here. You know what? I've always told people this, you can't bring anything you got right now. It ain't going with you when you're done. So, enjoy it. Enjoy what you got and live in the moment. And that's what hopefully a lot of people are inspired by that message will do. I mean, not that you're necessarily looking to become, Tony Robinson of, getting people to find their joy, but that said.
No, but I do like doing public speaking events. And when I'm asked to do those things, whether they're viral or in person, it's one of my things. I love having this kind of conversation with people and getting them excited about it, because so much, I think, about what's great, that bring this back to how to teach public speaking. It's not about, you're not inventing an idea. It's all about perspective and a different way of thinking about it,
yes.
And so I like thinking about, like, when I teach acting, I go, one of the biggest things is that I'm not here to tell you how to do this. I'm here, hopefully, to show you a different way to think about theater. I want you to think about acting in this way. And that may work for you, or it might not. But my goal isn't to tell you what's going to work for you. I'm not a fucking salesman. Sorry, I don't know where swearing came through. I think it's 7:00 now. But now we're hold on.
I've got this. I can do that as necessary, so it's no big deal.
if you're just like, wow, this has got, I don't know why. But again, my point being is that if joy can be a lot of things to a lot of different people, and it can be deep. It can be find the thing that makes you happy, like your profession or whatever. Or it could be find the fact that you love a fucking chicklet. I'm sorry, again, but you love a crisp with cheese. If that's bringing you joy in that moment, get up on the couch, get it, and enjoy it. And then take that feeling and hopefully apply it to the bigger picture. But there's too much anger and negativity and grossness. And, Brett and I are great for each other in the sense that we feed off each other sometimes. So we'll be in the car together and road rage together. And then there are times where we have to remind ourselves, this doesn't make me feel good for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about how shitty this is.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how I know that I made the right choice with this one.
Plus he probably cooks well too.
Sometimes.
I don't want to start any shit.
You make really good actually don't cook a lot for each other, but when we do, we both love what we make for each other.
Good. Well,
But now that we're living together, well, I'm sure we're going to cook for each other a lot more, right?
Well, I speaking of which, I don't want to keep you. Yeah, man, this has been great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Sorry, I feel like I could talk about a lot of things. So
No, it's perfect. But we've just proven the fact of why you shouldn't use AirPods for doing these interviews because they run out of juice.
they will die.
I didn't really expect this to go as long as it did. This has been a much more comprehensive interview than I ever thought possible. I really wanted to just talk to you about the social media influence and your take on New Orleans. And obviously we have gone off in so many different directions, but I can't say like this wasn't just an incredible time with you. And I really do thank you for taking your Sunday afternoon and spending it with me. That's very generous of you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that.
Well, you're more than welcome. It was a joy, and don't worry, the overtime billing is really so I promise you I won't hurt you bad.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about SAG. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I know. Well, Greg, thanks a lot for being on. I hope to have you down the road. Maybe maybe after you've had a quarter in with the kids, we can kind of do a sanity check on you and make sure, or we'll call it a wellness check. Make sure that you're not losing it.
A lot.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
And that is a wrap. Thanks so much for watching this 2 hour and 15-minute interview. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Reigning Cajun podcast, and also check out Greg's links down below in the description. All right, here comes the outro. See what YouTube thinks you should be watching next. Cheers, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
They're here.
Find your joy.